The Lady Walking, Wearing Red. Written by Dr. Step Harris, I watched her walk in, and all the men in different talk groups stopped talking, turned, and looked at the woman just walking in. She commanded the room with ease as she sashayed across the room. A couple of the men cleared their throats to call her attention, but she ignored the sounds. She was walking to the beat of a different drummer. She was focused and on a mission. Her red bag was shiny, embellished with glittering gemstones that seemed to send out beams of light to her prey. She walked with confidence and shyness at the same time, which is almost impossible for anyone to do. The shyness Demina attracted most of the men, and they started buttoning their suit jackets, while throwing mints in their mouths and straightening their postures. After she reached her intended target in the room, she sat down and crossed her legs, coyly taking a quick perusing of the entire room. The waiter in a white, short jacket with black lapels approached her table and asked what she would be having this evening. She tilted her head in thought and said, "How about a white spritzer on the rocks with a twist, please?" He said, "Yes, right away, ma'am." She took her compact out of her shiny purse, looking at her face, and quickly powdered her nose. She uncrossed her legs and recrossed them again on the other side, turning her back to the room. She started humming to herself, but no one could hear her because of the music playing in the room overhead. It was almost like a siren type of ciphering that started taking place without the men in the room understanding they were being summoned by a temptress. 3 men bumped into each other clumsily because they were so focused on her long back as they walked to her table. The few other women in the room started rolling their eyes in disgust to what was happening before their eyes. The married women pulled their husband up from different tables to lead them out of the door as the entire atmosphere started changing. The spirit of lust was circulating in the room, and the fleshly men started loosening their ties with a silly, goofy grin on their faces. There was something taking place in the room that was unspoken, but unmistakably known. The waiter returned with her ordered drink, and 3 men rushed, throwing their credit cards on the table for the waiter to cover her drinks. She looked up and smiled after one man insisted on paying for her drink, and the other 2 turned and puckered their lips in defeat. This paying man asked if he could sit down. She nodded, and he sat down quickly. He asked if she wanted to order anything to eat, and she shook her head. She was dressed all in the color red. Red dress, red nail polish, red shoes, red shiny handbag were all part of her ensemble. She no longer looked shy. She looked like she was a professional mover and shaker. She said nothing, and yet had that young man somehow seemingly eating out of her hands. He felt he hit a jackpot and that she wanted nothing else to eat or drink, and he had her undivided attention in an eye-to-eye lock. He reached out to hold her hand, and she didn't draw back. She smiled seductively, and he was, for sure, captured. She wore a wedding ring. So he asked if she was married. She said, "Yes, but my husband is out of town this weekend." She repeated, telling this young man in a more sultry, seductive voice that her husband was away for the weekend. He replied, "Oh, really? Well, that is interesting. Is that why you came out today?" She said, "Partly. Why don't we continue this at my house, where there is no one to disturb us?" With a chess-cat grin, he grabbed his keys off of the table and extended his arm out to her as she stood up from the table. This lady, dressed in red from head to toe, strolled out of the lobby, hand in hand with her, to his car. His name was Jacob. Jacob was the newly elected mayor, who was also married. That night, he, unfortunately, contracted chlamydia, gonorrhea, herpes, syphilis, and scabies STDs. Now, 3 months later, she is back in the same place, trying to pick up another person who cannot spiritually see. Jacob lost his beautiful wife and 2 daughters, as well as his mayoral position, after she, too, contracted the same STDs as her husband. It is written, Proverbs 7 says, "Behold, there a woman met him with the attire of a prostitute, and with crafty intent. She is loud and defiant. Her feet don't stay in her house. Now she is in the streets, now in the squares, and lurking at every corner." So she caught him and kissed him. With an impudent face she said to him, "Sacrifices of peace offerings are with me. Today I have paid my vows. Therefore I came out to meet you, to diligently seek your face, and I have found you. I have spread my couch with carpets of tapestry, with striped cloths of the yarn of Egypt. I have perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let's take our fill of loving until the morning. Let's solace ourselves with loving. For my husband isn't at home. He has gone on a long journey. He has taken a bag of money with him. He will come home at the full moon. With persuasive words, she led him astray. With the flattering of her lips, she seduced him. He followed her immediately, as an ox goes to the slaughter, as a fool stepping into a noose. Until an arrow strikes through his liver, as a bird hurries to the snare and doesn't know that it will cost his life. Now therefore, sons, listen to me. Pay attention to the words of my mouth. Don't let your heart turn to her ways. Don't go astray in her paths, for she has thrown down many wounded. Yes, all her slain are a mighty army. Her house is the way to Sheol, going down to the rooms of death. Be careful not to leave the paths of uprightness, to walk in the ways of darkness. It is written, to deliver thee from the strange woman, even from the stranger which flattereth with her words, which forsaketh the guide of her youth, and forgetteth the covenant of her God. For her house inclineth unto death, and her paths unto the dead. None that go unto her return again, neither take they hold of the paths of life. James chapter 1 verse 14. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. I Corinthians chapter 6 verse 18. Flee fornication. Every sin that a man doeth is without the body, but he that committeth fornication sinneth against his own body. 1 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 13. There hath no temptation taken you but such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it. 1 Thessalonians 4, 3-4. For this is the will of God, even your sanctification, that ye should abstain from fornication, that every one of you should know how to possess his vessel in sanctification and honor. James chapter 1 verse 12. Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him. All scripture references in this video were from the King James Version and the World English Bible translations.